Hi there everybody, how are you today? I hope you're doing awesome, fabulous, fantastic. I'm Tinsley Bradford with AndYouWannaSeeMyFeet.com, single and dating. This is a relationship insight dating blog, and I help singles make wiser choices when choosing their mate. I mean, I try to anyway. I'm also the single mom dating advice maven for Abiola Abrams' Passionista Playbook blog. And let me make sure I say that right. Abiola Abrams' Passionista Playbook blog. She's awesome. You got to check out AbiolaTV.com. Today's topic is going to be centered around a decision that's really hard to make sometimes for a single mom. Whether it's a daycare commitment fell through, a last minute meeting you have to go to work, the child gets sick, a snow day or a holiday, and you don't have anyone to keep your child. You're a single mom and some of your friends may already be working, or the family members that you usually depend on aren't available. The child care may be closed. Whatever it is, you are stuck making a decision. When is it okay to leave your child home alone? Now that is a really sensitive topic, because some people feel if a child is not of a near adult age, meaning 15 or 16 and higher, then you should never leave your child alone. But we all know that kids definitely should not be left alone if they're 7 years old or under. And it's totally okay to leave your kids home alone if they're in their high teens or higher. But that in-between stage, how do you determine if it's okay to leave your child alone if that child is 10 or 11 or 12, you know? So I wanted to try to give you a few pointers that will help make your decision a little bit more clear and maybe bring you some relief when making a decision so serious. One of the first things you might want to consider when you're thinking about having to possibly leave your child home alone is how mature and responsible does your child display themselves to be at this age and at this point. I mean, you're the mommy, you're observant, you see the things that you're able to get your child to do, you see how responsive and responsible your child is. And, you know, sometimes it could put a level of confidence and certainty that if something happened, you're 100% confident, or at least 99% confident, that your child would be okay should something happen. Your child would be responsible enough to call the right people, to know what to do when something happens. So you're like, I wonder how my child would act if I had to leave him or her home alone. Look at the signs of responsibility now. The chores around the house. How do they handle their homework? How do they handle discipline? You know, that's some things to consider. So that's number one. Number two, how hard does your child take disappointment? I mean, do they panic? Do they get anxious if things don't turn out as planned? Do they lose it? Do they get nervous and afraid when things don't turn out the way that they think they should turn out? A perfect example would be them wanting to go to Chuck E. Cheese or Six Flags or some fun theme park, and things happen where they're not able to go there. Do they handle it in a way where you feel like, okay, they're a little angry, but they got over it? Or do they just totally lose it? They get anxious, they get upset, they get sad, they get worried, they get nervous. It's something to consider, because if they act that way when things don't go their way or when they don't go as planned, how will they act unattended if things don't go as planned? I'm sure we all raise our kids well, and we want to make sure that we give the very best motherly love we can, you know, while raising our children single. And you don't want to ever feel like you're abandoning your child, especially with all these different laws and rules and scenarios where people have left their kids alone and wound up in a slammer. But we all know that there's a difference between having to make a decision such as this one, that you had unforeseen circumstances and your child is relatively responsible and you had to leave your child alone, versus leaving your child in a hot car who's maybe 9 or 10 months old in a freaking car seat. Never acceptable. The third thing to look for is, does your child know basic, I guess you can say, in case of an emergency, does your child know to call 911? Have you taught your child to call 911? Have you taught your child basic things to take care of, you know, a cut that he or she may get? Does she know how to put a Band-Aid on? Does he or she know how to put alcohol on their cut? Or, you know, how responsible are they when handling any type of medical need that may not be serious, or life-threatening, but maybe something that they need to nurture at the time? I mean, how responsible, how responsive to that type of need are they now? Because you would hate to not be there if something like that happens and then they're not able to make a decision, you know, wise enough to help take care of themselves in case of an emergency such as that. How well do they listen? I mean, how well do they take orders from you? All of these things are things that you can consider. I left my child at home when she was alone, when she was between 10 and 11 years old, going on 11. I taught her a lot. I was a single mom. There were times that my mother just couldn't watch her. My mother was working too. My sister was working. My friends were working. And sometimes you just weren't able to put your child in childcare for whatever reason. So I ended up leaving my child alone. I called her what was called a latchkey kid. And this is when you train your child to not open the door for strangers. Only certain people can get in. And if you're not there, absolutely no one can get in unless you've discussed it with them yourself. You always tell your child, if I'm not the one at the door, don't open the door. And a lot of times kids will listen to that. Now, have you tested your child to see if your child is the type of person who, if you tell them don't open the door for anyone but you, that they listen? If auntie comes to the door and they still open the door, they failed the test. Because auntie, no matter how trustworthy auntie is, you made it clear that if it's not you at that door, then they're not to open the door. Look at that. Look at those signs as well. Make sure you visit AndYouWannaSeeMyFeet.com for more dating insight advice on other topics. Single mom dating advice as well. And also check out Abiola Abrams' Passionista Playbook blog for tons and tons of life, love, and daily advice and insight on just how you can live the very best life that you can. Life is too short to not enjoy it right now, so have a good time. And I also hope today's advice has given you a little bit more insight on feeling more confident when you have to leave your child home alone, what to look for and what to do and how to do it the right way. You have a wonderful day, and thanks for stopping by. Bye-bye.